everybody at this conference is in the industry. We understand it. We understand both mostly the technology and funding and grants and everything around it. But what about the people that are not in this industry? You know, we've talked about community. What should the community do? You know, outside of just learning more, we have a responsibility to educate, but what can the community itself do to help? Let's meet in the middle.
Well, I'll tell you a funny story.
I always like funny stories when I got beer.
Okay. So in Australia, of all places, I think it's Adelaide, if I'm not mistaken, but they have done two things I think are interesting. One is, and this will sound odd, but the city manages something like thousands of trees in the city, right? Each tree has its own email address. So if something should happen to a tree, lightning strike or something, you can send an email actually to the tree, to the tree, and somebody will respond.
This is funny. I don't know if this is real.
This is Aussie humor over beer.
Right, apparently so. But I think the other interesting thing they're doing is every time before they launch a new government program or a new product or service, they actually created an innovation center at their not the mayor's office, but the government facility there, and they have different groups of people, citizens, who come in and test those applications out. But over time, that also gives buy-in to the new product or service, but it also helps with adoption as well. I think it's really smart. So if we're doing more stuff like that, I think it would be helpful.
What about you guys? Anything that the community from that side, what could they do? What would you guys love them to do? What would you personally like them to do?
So much pressure.
I'm going to have to let you go ahead and think about that one.
Well,
he's never at a loss for words, so it's okay.
Okay, I'll save her. I think from my perspective, it's the community should not rest on its laurels and should, these are the constituents, and they need to drive the community leaders to make something happen, right? And whether it's a municipality, an electric co-op, it doesn't matter, right? The constituents deserve affordable, high-speed broadband, and they should drive it. Whether it's at church, any kind of community leader that could drive back into the public sector, local government, they need to constantly be talking, right? And we try to do a lot of this with, introducing people to one another, right? And building these relationships. But the communities deserve it. We've got more funding than ever has been available for this.
Ever.
And I think it's all about which ones are going to be able to make something happen sooner, right? And so there'll be earlier adopters, and hopefully we can still continue to expand this so some of those laggards, we can show them it can be done. Mm-hmm. And I think they need to see that, because a lot of them want to do something, but then city council will change out or this or that. I mean, it's challenging for a municipality to do this.
Well, it is, but I think the other thing you need to figure out is what problems you're trying to solve for people, right? And if you can figure out a way, once you understand what problems you're trying to solve, then you can engage people more. And I think if we actually made a better effort at engaging citizens in a given city or municipality, they might have better results.
I think that also sometimes we have to check ourselves a little bit. I think that. And I'm not saying this and looking at you.
Yes, you are.
Even though she is.
She's looking right at you.
I know.
I think of, so on our Broadband USA website, we have this a toolkit, and I know there are lots of organizations that have toolkits how to bring broadband to your community, and a lot of states do this, and a lot of communities do it, and we participate with NTIA and the State Broadband Leaders Network, and have all these calls, and I have never run into a community that did not want to bring broadband. I think that I don't think that's a toolkit that's as necessary as maybe it was 10 years ago or maybe even 5 years ago. But I do think of the phone calls and webinars that I've been part of where we all talk like, smart and we know what needs to happen. We know what you need to be doing. And then there's like this little librarian who raises her hand and she's like, I don't even know who I can buy internet from. Like, and sometimes I just think that we're not speaking the same language. And so I think that there is an awareness. I think that there is a continuing education that has to occur, but I think that we have to check ourselves a little bit and stop being so smart and having all the answers. And actually, I mean, I call it building trust, but I think rolling up our sleeves and going down local in order to make this happen.
So have a little humility, right?
Yes.
I'm
yeah.
trying to figure out if there's a takeaway for me here.